Hello and welcome to Follow Everton. A very warm welcome to all of our viewers on this Saturday afternoon. I'm joined by Aussie Chris. It's a completely different time zone over there in Arizona, but thank you for jumping on and coming on to talk about the Blues.
Yeah, absolutely. And I woke up in the middle of the night and read my phone, and it's all about Kevin Campbell, Ryan.
Hmm. Um, we thought it was just rumors, didn't we? At first, just a message
Yeah,
on the Follow Everton WhatsApp group at 8 a.m. saying rumors Kevin Campbell's passed away, and I quickly turned to social media to see if there was any truth in that, and a couple of people had posted it, but it looked like just general fan accounts, and then our worst fears had come true. Chris, he's passed away and 54 as well, no age whatsoever.
yeah. I mean, I'm now in my 30s, and you really don't think 50 is going to hit someone, especially a professional footballer that looked after his health, was a larger than life personality. Yes, he was big for Everton, but he was an Arsenal legend in many respects. Came up through the ranks with them, and he had that surprise illness, and everyone was hoping for the best for him, and it just looks like he never recovered.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to. I don't want to make out that I watched him play an awful lot, given my age as well. And I hope that we'll have some Evertonians who'll be able to share their stories in due course with Kevin Campbell. But in more recent times, it was clear his punditry and his passion for Everton was as good as anything I've seen. I'd say arguably the best Everton related pundit up there with Andy Gray. And just that enthusiasm and
Yeah,
passion, because he was an Arsenal boy, but really took Everton into his heart. And he absolutely loved the club, the fans, and everything around it.
yeah. Anytime if you're a player from one of these, we talk about the big six right now, but mainstays of the United and the Arsenals, he grew up through the ranks there, and he has a second favorite club or I'm sure he'll say both are his favorite depending on the crowd. But if you're an ambassador of Everton at the level he was with the charisma he had on TV, that's huge for us. And and we've mentioned to Ryan, I didn't start following Everton until probably 2007, 2008. So of course I heard about all his combinations with Big Dunk and everything else, and how he was a fan favorite, and that's very clear from the reaction of the community at large in football and UK in particular on what kind of person he was.
I think a good example of that is recently when some past and present Follow Everton members had gone out for a drink in Liverpool at the end of last year and noticed Kevin Campbell was on the table near them, and they decided to send over some drinks to Kevin and his wife. And very shortly later, Kevin Campbell, I believe he returned the favour and actually jumped on the table with the Follow Everton past and present crew and sat with them for the remainder of the evening and shared stories from their life and football and had a very enjoyable time. And that showed that he was a man of the people, Chris. He wasn't just famous footballer, very wealthy man, very successful man. He was someone who loved the fans and everything around the club.
Yeah, those kind of examples are perfect, because a lot of times people, if someone is a superstar or they play in the Premier League, maybe they're in politics, maybe it's just simply finance, they have this attitude of being better than someone else instead of, as you're saying, people are people. And the fact that Kevin, in that example, was so kind, honest, and just real and grounded is kind of, it's hard to claim to say, hey, you're a great person. What do you do? You're a nice guy. What does that mean? And a subtle example like that, when you're a larger than life figure to many people in Liverpool, it speaks volumes. Imagine, and I'm not there yet, but imagine being like, when we were kids, imagine someone of Kevin Campbell's level coming over to you and just treating you like a human, you'd be like, wow, he's not just going to flip me off because I want to go get an autograph. He's going to spend time with you and treat you as a human. Like that's the kind of people we want in that position of power, or influence.
As I say, I can't talk about the footballing side too much. I can only really comment on the fact that in recent times you could see he was um, such a massive personality, big sense of humor, charisma. His storytelling was fantastic, as I mentioned, his engagement with the fans, his punditry, his work with the co-commentary, everything was outstanding. And if we do reflect on his footballing career as a whole, this is a player who won the League One with Arsenal. So effectively won the Premier League with Arsenal, scored 46 goals in 163 games for Arsenal. Then moved on to Nottingham Forest, where he was also quite a prolific striker, 31 goals in 77 games. I believe he actually was in the team that got Nottingham Forest promoted. Played in Turkey very briefly, and then came on loan to Everton in 1999. And really hit the ground running with 9 goals in 8 games in the league, and quickly became a fan favourite, joining on a permanent deal and signing for 6 years from 1999 to 2005, scoring 36 goals in 137 games, not all starts, of course, and also in a poor team at times, being more of the kind of like the target man foil for other players to do the goal scoring, but still managed to get 12 in 26, 9 in 29. There was another season 10 in 36. So these are very respectable figures in terms of his goal scoring. And he maintained that hero status and that iconic status. And I know likes of Stevie and Mabs he absolutely adored. Kevin Campbell as a footballer, growing up as Evertonians, he was their iconic striker. So he had a very distinguished career at Everton. He was also the first player of colour to become Everton captain. Given Everton's history in years gone by, that was an incredible moment, really, an incredible achievement and a big thing for the club. And then he went on to West Brom later in his career and had a couple of seasons there. And he was past his prime at that point and only scored a few goals, but he's had a very good career. Won the league, won the FA Cup, won the Charity Shield, European Cup Winners' Cup, First Division with Forest, and very, very solid at Everton, scoring the winner at Anfield. He could reflect on his career and say he did really well. So not only a great pundit, a great person, but a really good footballer as well, Chris.
Yeah, no, I think you've summed this up very nicely. Larger than life play character on and off the pitch, but you talk about the time that Everton really needed someone stable, and he had that early 2000s to about 2005. He was a steady presence for us here, and even getting 9 to 10 goals in a struggling squad actually says a lot. DCL, we needed his goals like this year, and he only got 10. And sometimes you need those figures, and he was huge. You're talking about being a captain, person of color, and breaking different barriers and expectations culturally. Again, says a lot.
Well, you have to remember, not long prior, Everton had chants like Everton all white. For him to then go on to become Everton's first, player of, it's incredible, isn't it, Chris? It's and Everton have got an amazing history of being pioneers in the game and everything we do, and that was a lovely thing for him. I was just going to say, also 54 years of age, apparently had a stroke a few months ago and then ended up with kidney failure and ended up in hospital with sepsis. I mean, lost all of his weight. It's a terrible, terrible way to go. But I believe he was still trying to reassure people late on that he was okay and he was going to get better. And unfortunately, it wasn't to be. So we very sadly, honor Kevin Campbell on this show, and yeah, and we wish all of his friends and family the absolute very best. You like to post your tributes to Kevin Campbell in the comments, then we'll definitely put them up. Any final thoughts on this, Chris?
No, I think for now we've covered our piece. I'm sure we'll probably get some excellent poetry. I know Jan likes to do his tributes that way, and Mabsy looked like he had something similar as well in line. So
that would be lovely. Just from Peter, he's saying Kevin Campbell will be missed. And Tazul, thank you, Tazul. He's saying RRP, big man, will be sorely missed. Eugene, another one of our wonderful regulars, saying best memories of Kevin Campbell when he scored the winner for Everton at Liverpool away back in the day in 1999. Of course, since then, Everton have won at Anfield. Gylfi Sigurdsson and Calvert-Lewin scoring. No, that's a completely different game. It was Richarlison scoring, and it was a Gylfi Sigurdsson penalty, was it? 2-0? Yeah, that's the one.
I think so. I mean, well, we also won 2-0
it was during the COVID years.
Was it?
Yeah, we've won that many times.
So.
We've won that many times.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep up with it now.
I can remember two.
Peter Duggan, Everton Rose's channel, no longer up, unfortunately. But he made an appearance. What's happened to Everton Rose?
What a shame.
That's a shame.
Yeah. Probably worth reaching out to.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on for now. The Kevin Campbell story is something that, of course, is not going to be just we'll talk about once. You know, there's going to be quite a bit of reflection on him, his career, and him as a man. But the big news, and I want to try and now liven up a little bit, if that's okay with you, Chris, in true Follow Everton style, and that is,
yeah.
Should we talk about the transfers first? The non-event transfers. The one that is on the tip of your tongue at the moment is Amadou Onana possibly going to Arsenal. Would you like to tell us about this potential deal?
So I will give that a try. I feel like my laptop is coming jack quality. So if my lag cuts through, please apologize, and Ryan can.
You can jump onto your phone if you want, Chris.
Interest in the news. We can do if that's going to be easier.
Yeah, I would. I can give
come
you.
Right back. Okay, let's try.
Yeah, I can give you a code if you text me. We'll get that going. It's too fuzzy. I don't think people. Yeah. Okay, come on as a guest.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
We'll just wait for Chris to come back in. He's having some technical difficulties. He is half across the world at the moment. You can actually now see in the background I've got an Everton flag. I've got my lights up. I'm back in my home office. Soon to become a nursery, but I can tell you upstairs is going to be converted into an Everton suite. So we're going to have plenty of space to continue with the streams, and you're going to get all the coverage throughout the summer and into the new season, of course, here at Follow Everton. And if you're new, please make sure you subscribe. It's absolutely free. And always like the video if you're watching now. And your comments are more than welcome. There's also, if you like to support us, we don't have an official patron, but we do have a way to donate into the channel through joining. Next to where it says subscribe, you can click join. And there's different tiers of membership, and the funds go into supporting the channel with the running costs and equipment. I'm just going to try and get Mr. I'm just going to get Lychee back in. Copy. It always does this, doesn't it? We're going to take a 30-second break. I've just sent Chris the link, so he's going to be jumping back on in a moment. We're going to talk about Amadou Onana, and we're also going to talk about Jared Branthwaite and the big news surrounding Everton's takeover. So, just until then, let's just talk about something else, so we don't kind of ruin the plans for the show. Obviously, England are playing tonight in the Euros. Scotland absolutely destroyed last night, 5-1 against the Germans, down to 10 men. They were 2-0 down within 15, 20 minutes. Then gave away a penalty, got a red card, and just got turned over. And the goal that they did score was an own goal. So Scotland and Andy Robertson really struggling last night. What games are you excited to see in the Euros? Are you going to be following England? Are you looking forward to the game tonight? The tomorrow, Peter. Chris misled me. We're playing tomorrow. What games are on today? Is it Spain, Croatia? Come on, Chris. I don't want to talk about everything without you. Let's see if there's any more notes to talk about before he. Okay, I'll just talk about the Jared Branthwaite situation again. Apparently, Manchester United had made contact with Jared Branthwaite's agent and asked what sort of wages it would take to get the player to Manchester United, and they were quoted 150,000, to which Man United said would be fine. United then, on the back of that, made a bid of £35 million with add-ons, taking that deal up to 42,000. 42 million. I mean, 42 thousand. 42 million. Sorry, for Jared Branthwaite. Everton dismissed the bid out of hand, citing deals for Harry Maguire and Lisandro Martinez as benchmarks for Everton to sell Jared Branthwaite. They have said they will only start entertaining bids that are in the region of 70 to 80 million pounds. And I think this is the way to go. I'm going to bring in Chris for his thoughts. That's much better, Chris. I'm sure your sound won't be as good, but at least we can see you.
Yeah, I'll be interactive instead of
reacting. Look, I'm being notorious the past few months for having the most gobbledygook setup, and you for being the most professional. And I've come back, and I've got lights, I've got my headset, and you're the one who can't.
It's all a matter of technology, and we'll talk, I could probably let everyone else know on the channel too. I'm in the process of relocating from where I live out in Arizona to Perth, Australia. So I'm buying a laptop is certainly part of that, but also booking movers, flights, and everything else. And the laptop is on the agenda too. So that's
But the laptop's at the lowest priority.
Okay. Well, I can have a laptop and not live in Australia. That's
good. Let's have a vote, guys. Do you want a laptop and Chris to stay where he is able on a reasonable time zone, or do you want him to go back home? No, we want you to go back home.
You'll have to pay my work wages, Ryan. That's tricky. So yeah, let's talk about Arsenal for a second. So Thomas Partey has been linked to a move. I think it was the Saudi Arabian international fund. I forget the consortium that owns 4 clubs in the Saudi Pro League, but they tried to bring Thomas Partey out from Arsenal last year, and it was an unsuccessful bid. But they're trying again this year, and if that does happen, which is quite likely, Arsenal's looking to shed some of their aging or some of their squad that's on the fringes. He's one of them. If he does go, there is a vacancy in the middle of their squad, and there's been interest before for Amadou Onana to move. And according to the Echo, they're expecting, or they've been saying that Arsenal have been showing interest. And I don't think that's a surprise. I think he would actually do pretty well in the middle for them with Declan Rice at a minimum, maybe as a pair of holding midfielders. But yeah, we hear comments of he would play better with a better squad. Sorry?
Do they need 2 holding midfielders? I mean, the thing is, Arsenal keep the ball that well. They don't kind of lose it, and they're what they deal with is transitions and counterattacks. And they got 2 centre backs that can defend 1v1 and be isolated up against anyone and do very well. I'd argue they don't need him, and is he going to start on the bench? And therefore, would he go to Arsenal? And linking that in with what I was just saying about Jared Branthwaite, Everton have said 70 million or nothing for Jared Branthwaite, which is fair enough. And I think he should be pushing 70 million plus add-ons, taking up to 100 million.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that he's going to be the mainstay of any central defence for 10 to 15 years. And that there's no way on God's earth we should be selling him. We should be building the team around him. And also Onana. But the talk is if we sell Onana, there'd be less pressure to sell Branthwaite. I don't think there should be pressure to sell either of these guys. You've got Mason Holgate, Michael Keane, Nathan Patterson, Ben Godfrey, and there's another one, and Neil Maupay.
Yeah.
All of them can go. Raise some money that way. Let's get a few free transfers. They're fringe players anyway. We're not relying on them. Yeah. Let's get a specialist right back in. Hold on to what we've got, and go and push in, and we'll finish in the top 10 next season. Why are we trying to strip this up? Why can't we raise money the proper way? We've shown we've been able to do it with the kit deal for Castore, £20 million. Why are we trying to strip our assets? I get it, Chris. If Onana says, I want to leave, I've been here for 2 years, and I've had enough, I want to move on, and Everton can go and reinvest that money. But if it's because we're forced to sell, then go and sell some of those other players, and let's start doing proper business instead of tripping this club. Because all this, and I said this on my rant yesterday, the only reason we follow Everton, no pun intended, is for the enjoyment of the football. And once you start stripping the better players away, what is the point?
Yeah. Now, everything you're saying here, I agree with. The challenge that I think we're going to have, and we're not financial experts, but I think we understand the transfer market a little bit. We've followed the sport. It just opened up for trade. So now players can actually transfer and move clubs. We also know that if Everton need to get to clear out or to balance the books before a certain date, I believe that's the end of this month, right? That's when that year clocks off. We have 2 weeks to balance the books, and those unfortunately, but the reality is they're low value assets that are not in high demand and don't move quickly. Maybe Ben Godfrey goes, but Mason Holgate's going to be a last ditch, get rid of him, and it takes the entire summer to move him, I think. Neil Maupay, similar. So usually what's going to happen is the biggest clubs who are looking for big transfer targets will try and move those players first, and then all the other smaller assets take a lot longer to go. So if they're going to take maybe the rest of the summer to move on, and we need money now, the only people we can move are the prime candidates, the prime people, like the key players that are available, the A-class profile players like a Branthwaite. The problem, of course, is Man United are having a laugh. They're looking to get rid of what's his name, Casemiro, for 100 mil, an excellent play historically.
That's money laundering.
Yeah, so they're trying to move him out to the Saudi Pro League for 100 million, but they're only willing to spend 35 for Branthwaite. Yeah, if they can do that, that's excellent economics for Man United, but they're having a laugh.
Casemiro wouldn't
reasonable for everyone else, you know?
Casemiro, for a start, is a free transfer player at the moment. He's absolutely wank. I'm sorry to say. I would be interested in listen, I think it all comes down to how well we place. I don't know how well Kevin Thelwell has done with his transfers. And I said, look, if we sold Branthwaite for 70 or 80 million, I don't have a lot of trust that he'll be able to buy the players to negotiate well enough. And I know this is negative, but the reason I'm saying this is we didn't sign anyone in January. He likes to go for the obvious targets that are in front of his face. To quote someone very close to him, who I can't name because it would be unfair to do so, but he's described Everton's scouting network as horrendous. And that is someone extremely senior in football at a club with a wide scouting network. You know, he doesn't seem to look further than the end of his known nose for transfers. He doesn't seem to be able to negotiate player contract extensions. He doesn't seem to be able to get big fees for players. He doesn't seem to be able to get academy players signing new contracts. He doesn't seem to be able to sell these academy players before their contracts run out. I haven't seen a lot of evidence of brilliant engineering signings. And all the signings last summer for me, as much as I like the enthusiasm of Beto, flop. Young, flop. Harrison, flop. Danjuma, flop. Flop, 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 flop.
Yeah.
You know, is there the trust there that A, we're going to sell Onana and Branthwaite for the fees that the two players command, which if they were Brighton or another club would be, let's say, 75 million for Jared Branthwaite and 60 million for Amadou Onana? Probably not.
Mhm.
And if we do sell them, do you trust Everton at this moment where we go, who've Burnley got? Who've the relegated teams got? Let's look at them. You know, are we actually going to trust them to go? Right, I've been watching this player in France for 6 months. He's absolutely brilliant. He's going to be the next big thing. I'm going to sign him. I'm going to sign him. He's brilliant. I don't have any faith in us actually buying the right players. Although we have shown in the past we can scout quite well. Louis Diaz, Mohamed Kudus. But I don't actually have any faith we'll be able to get the deals over the line. So I prefer not to sell them. But if we do sell them, are we going to be able to replace these players?
Yeah, I worry we can't. Now, I will mention, though, you just said the French league and we've been spotted in for 6 months. That's kind of what we did with Onana not that long ago. And
I'm giving Onana as the one, but
yeah,
I'm going to say that was the best piece of transfer business that he has done, but I haven't seen a consistent evidence of that.
I'm not sure I really want to say Thelwell has been excellent. There are occasionally, I think it's still too early for Chimiti to say it's a bust, but outside of him and Onana, really, we haven't really broken the bank. Branthwaite was before Thelwell was involved, wasn't it? With the Carlisle
Branthwaite's nothing to do with Thelwell. It's Marcel Brands, and he's just come back on loan.
Yeah, so really, we don't know right now. And the other part, when it comes to Everton, we don't. There's so many unknowns about the ownership. What can they spend? How much could Thelwell? Is it up to him? Is he allowed to rip up and put money and investment into a scouting network? We don't know. Other than Harrison was okay, Young was mediocre at best. Other than he was squad coverage.
He
and
was shite.
Yeah, I'm trying to say mediocre at best. At best, not that he was good. We don't want to have 3 goalkeepers on the bench again. So Ashley Young at least gives you that flexibility. That's about it to me. So we have.
I don't think Sean Dyche is, Chris. I don't think Sean Dyche is brave enough to go. And like a lot of fans would sit here and go, okay, Patterson is not going to be Everton's first choice right back because we dropped him for 6 months. Ben Godfrey, yes, he looks quite good at times and he pulls off this last ditch block or this last ditch tackle, but then his positioning's wrong in the first place. He's not contributing anything going forward when he's at right back. As a centre half, he's almost too tenacious and he's ill-disciplined. You look at him and think he's not really the right player for Everton either. Michael Keane is finished as far as I'm concerned. Neil Maupay has burnt his bridges and I don't think would be welcome in a blue shirt. And Mason Holgate has had more chances than a game of Monopoly. So you've got them 5 there. And you could say, sell the players for something. Get these off the books. Go and bring in the right players. But I don't think Sean Dyche is brave enough to go, I can get rid of Keane. I can get rid of Patterson. I'm going to be bold. I'm going to sell Ben Godfrey. I think he likes this character. I think he likes the English, the safe, the steady, the sort of squad sort of feeling about it. But actually, someone really progressive, another different manager would be like, yeah, don't need him. He doesn't really suit me. Right, get rid of him. I'm going to put that money into one player who's going to start at right back for Everton and be the first choice right back, collate all these wages together and have a right back, and then bring him in a backup right back on the cheap from abroad, who's only going to play 4 games a season. Like Moyes did. His backup fullbacks never played. Instead of rotating all these crap Young and Coleman and all these sorts of players, let's go and get someone who knows what they're doing. But the Blues is criticising my thought process in the comments, saying, how do you sell players we've received no bids for? First of all, how do we not know we're being stubborn with the bids? Secondly, I've seen other clubs sell dross players for major money. Yeah. Liverpool seem to sell youngsters who've made 1 appearance for 30 million. Ryan Brewster to Sheffield United. You cannot tell me. It's just how we sell. I don't think we are good at selling.
Well, is it though, Ryan? Also, what I was bringing up before, because it's early in the transfer season, they're not going to move yet. Those are the you can
they're going to stink the place out and go out on loan on deadline day.
Yeah, right. The dross players are not the ones that people want to buy. They're the ones that they need to buy after they've figured out their ideal candidates. The good players have gone and there's no availability, so they pick whatever's left over. They are not going to be moved first. They're the last consideration type players. Ben Godfrey is an exception, but Keane, I don't think, unless one of the promoted clubs, maybe Leicester or Leicester or Ipswich say, we just need someone solid and we're going to go early. We're going to be bold. Outside of that, most people are going to say, let's wait and see who's the best in the market, not spend money on a Mason Holgate and then they don't have 4 million quid in the bank later for the player they wanted.
Could we not sell Ben Godfrey for 5 million and Nathan Patterson for 5 million and go and sign a right back for 10 million?
Those two, yes. I think Ben Godfrey goes. We're talking about, it was AC Milan. Who was the other one that he's been linked with for his move out?
I'm not sure. I think that's agent talk anyway.
Yeah.
Why would AC Milan want him?
Well, it does seem that players that are not given some Premier League players, and Christian Pulisic would be an example, was underperforming at Chelsea and did quite well moving from the Premier League to Milan, who are not, they should be doing better. They're the giants of that league, them and Juventus and Inter. They're second, but a long way up from being the top club there. But if they don't have the finances for the best and they need squad depth, Ben Godfrey is a squad depth player and a lot better at it than Ashley Young, in my opinion. I'd rather keep Godfrey if I had to, but he's not
to cover in the certain areas, to cover in those positions. But what my point I'm making is, I've watched Everton last season, and I can tell you the two priority areas to get this team moving up the league is a first choice right back and a first choice right sided midfielder who's going to pass it to a player on the same team instead of overhitting crosses, skying the ball over, and then scoring a tap in and because he runs around a lot is the best thing since sliced bread. I would be going in on that right side and improving that, and then I think that propels you up even more. And then if you had more money to spend, I'd go, right, you get a number 10 who could possibly play on either wing as well if needed. And there you are fine. If you keep the rest of that team, that's finishing in the top 10 next season, possibly on the cusp of Europa Conference League with this manager and the rest of them. And that would be how I do the player trades to achieve that. I would get rid of the fringe players to bring in a first choice player, the ones that aren't quite right. And I know the money isn't there. We should be exploring this free transfer market. This is a big topic, by the way. The one who's just gone to Newcastle, the first choice Bournemouth left back has just gone on a free transfer. That would have been someone I would have liked to think we'd have asked about on a free transfer. I think we could open a big can of worms about this, Chris, and I think we should, in the interest of time, let's talk about the major topic of today, which is that Everton are set to be bought by Dan Friedkin, the American automotive entrepreneur, Ashkenazi Jewish descent, plenty of businesses, owner of Roma, a glorious club. I actually have a Roma shirt next door. So I like that element of it. But and Cans, the thing for me that stinks straight away, Chris, is that Everton aren't going to be the jewel in his crown. Why do I say this? Well, if Everton qualify for Europe next season, which I think there's a small, slim, unlikely chance, but you could say we're not completely a write-off for something like that. You can't own Everton as a majority shareholder under UEFA's multi-club model. So does this mean Everton are going to be the second best jewel in the crown? I don't think Evertonians are going to like that.
Yeah, and if that's the case, it's also, so it's partly that, but it's very similar to like, who is John Textor? Like, if you truly wanted to be Everton as the majority, like who's your main club, you can't have two fingers in the pot. But I thought you can. What's the rationale here, Ryan? Maybe you know more than I do, but I thought a lot of clubs, like a lot of owners now have a multi-tiered, multi-owned, multi-club model.
I thought they banned it as well. The whole owning clubs where you can, like, we could take Tammy Abraham on a free transfer from Roma and we could then sell them Mason Holgate for 10 million. I thought this was banned. I thought they had some sort of veto against multi-ownership
well, I think
recently,
they should,
and
but
Chelsea
they don't
vetoed
take
it.
advantage of it. But it sounds like we can't really do that the way you're saying it, huh?
I need to look into it more, but I'm sure there was a motion in the Premier League and some of the other clubs rejected it. Everton were one of them, of course. Chelsea was one of them that rejected it. I think it might have got passed. If anyone can clarify in the comments, but the thing about Europe, I'm not settling for being a relegation candidate or finishing in mid-table. You know, if he's buying this club and he thinks it's not going to be to take us into Europe, Champions League, compete for titles, then I'm sorry, you're not the right person for us. And you cannot own Roma if they're in Europe, and Everton if they're in Europe. So can someone explain?
So I will say this: we now that 777 are out of the picture, our expectations of grandeur and really good replacements have jumped up, because we were willing to accept. We weren't happy about it, saying,
Thank you,
"Hey,
Matthew.
if someone can come in and replace multi-club ownership is allowed, but they have to sell players fairly and not on cheap." Yeah, and if that's the case, then fine. Maybe we don't trade between us and Roma. But what happened with 777, we realized we needed someone just to make sure we didn't go bankrupt. Right now, we are worried about that situation of going into administration. I don't know how long we wait, but there is some period of time, if we don't figure out who comes in and we don't have stable funding, we are in a really bad state. So and we've also noticed a lot of these ownership proposals are coming in with a lot of debt, where it's not their own cash directly to pay off debt. It's like, I'm going to receive debt to pay off someone else's debt. And we have so much of that already. We have MSP, 777. Oh, there's a couple other ones as well, where it's just this mess of people. We need to like just basically refinance our loans into one and have one IOU, and to simplify this.
I get that. Chris, do you see, we'll come back onto the type of structure of this deal at the moment and who's beating the race, but do you ever see a multi-club ownership model where they have two flagship clubs of the size of Everton and Roma? Because these aren't small clubs. You normally have a flagship club and then the feeder clubs, because he owns Cannes as well in the south of France. You know, this is what I'm saying. You normally have a couple: Man City, Melbourne, all these other teams, New York, but the flagship is Man City.
Yeah.
You know, they're the top of the tree. If they were to do well and they were playing for Melbourne City, they'd end up going over to play for Man City. That would be the plan.
Wasn't that the case? There was someone from Melbourne Victory. I thought that this 15-year-old winger or something that Man City transferred over for some record fee.
Your cousin.
My cousin. Yeah, I was never a winger. I was a slow centre half.
Boot it long.
Yeah, or I'd be the key. Anyway, let's not talk about my football career. That's not exactly interesting.
I'm sure you were good. You've got that brain. You need to read the game from the back. That's why you were in centre half.
Yeah, I wasn't exactly pacey, but anyway, we were discussing. What were we asking, Ryan? I feel like we just distracted ourselves. Your question to me was what?
Do you ever see? I don't have a lot of time, by the way.
Yeah,
a multi-club model where it's two big clubs.
So I will say this, because of
this is one from the Blues. Thanks, Blues.
So, awesome. So the owner right now, if you think in terms of finances, the Premier League is the biggest club financially in the world, right? So to put money in to make Everton the greatest, or make them more effective in the Premier League, should be possible. What I don't know is, because Roma, they have a name probably similar in stature, and especially when you think of the city of Rome, everyone knows of Roma as well.
And Lazio, they've got the similar sort of rivalry, although theirs is nasty. You know, Lazio. I'm not going to comment too much, but do your research.
Yeah, I'm not going to go hang out with the Lazio firm anytime soon. As an Australian American guy, that won't go down well, will it? So
yeah.
But all I'm going to really get in at is because the finances in a lot of these other leagues is lower than the Premier League. I think that the consideration of who's the biggest club, where's your biggest investment, makes it a little bit more intricate. And
the money is at Everton. You're right. That's a good point.
Yeah, because Roma might end up fifth, but the expenses in the league and transfer costs and revenue made by TV deals is going to be notably lower than what Everton can do, especially once they get to the new stadium. So maybe they are about equal.
Just making a note.
Yeah. Because with a lot of these other clubs, right? Like, okay, if it's Bayern Munich and Liverpool, good luck. But if it's Wolverhampton and Roma, let's say, they may be about, like, you're talking about similar earnings, or the. I'm going a bit sidetracked here, but like Roma, yes, they're big, but we just talked about, if someone in Chelsea is struggling, AC Milan, a huge club in Italy, second in term on the table right now for them. They're pulling Christian Pulisic, and he's pulling up trees in the league, and he's on the bench. So there is that contrast throughout those leagues, even if
You love Christian Pulisic.
well, I'm using him as a reference because we brought up Roma.
Yeah, no, I know. I just want to come back to this so we don't get sidetracked. And I do have to go out very shortly. Oh my goodness gracious me! My missus is at the Coronation Street tour in Manchester, and they have. I'm sure you know what Coronation Street is from your time in the UK. I'm a big fan,
Sure.
and the guest is the celebrity guest is Evelyn Plummer. Very, very funny character in Coronation Street. That's the fact. Maureen Lipman, she's also a famous actor. You can do your research. Chris, I've had to put my phone on Do Not Disturb while I focus on this for 5 more minutes. Friedkin wants to buy the club £400 million, all equity offer. Although I do have 2 A's at business A level, that was 12 years ago. And I can't quite remember what this means, but I think, Chris, it means not borrowing money, as you said a moment ago, not borrowing money off Peter to pay back Paul to own Bob.
Yeah. And 400 million doesn't seem enough to pay off everything, does it?
Is what's happening that they're paying off Everton's debt and getting the equity in exchange, and then Mashiri walks away?
And then the value of the club is nothing?
So Mashiri makes nothing. He doesn't even get any of his money back. The stadium alone must be worth £1 billion. Come on.
Was that his money, though?
So he used other people's money to buy the stadium. So in the theory, he shouldn't get it back directly into his pocket.
And this is why I I enjoy talking about the football more than this, because I feel like, as you're saying, you need a business degree. You need access to the CIA's like dossiers to go access all the hidden files to know what's really going on, because we have very quiet ownership that don't tell us much. They seem to have money, but they don't want to spend it. So where are they at? And yes, is it Usmanov money that came in at that time?
And the pothole was only worth $2 billion, so he wouldn't have been able to fund the stadium himself.
Yeah. So, or is it just he's done with Everton, which it seems that way?
Yeah. Listen, I think his heart was in the right place, and he's done well to get us in the position to have a new stadium. So I'm going to give him respect for that side of it. But of course, the footballing has been pretty depressing. The circus would have sold out across the world for how entertaining it is if you want to laugh at Everton. Some of the other bids, but then, Chris, just briefly, 777 off the table. Your favourite man, Mr. Joshi Wonder, another Ashkenazi. Farhad Mashiri loves finding these people. And you have George Downing and Bell, James Bell, combined with a billion quid, sorry. And they were backed by MS Dell, another Ashkenazi entrepreneur over in America, responsible for the Dell Technologies. Massive company, 100 billion. It turned out really exciting, didn't it? It was, we're getting Dell computers are buying Everton. It's going to be the Dell Stadium, Dell and Bell. It'll be like a double act. Then we found out it was actually George Downing and the construction entrepreneur and James Bell, the investment entrepreneur, borrowing money off MS Dell Group to buy Everton with debt. And then all of a sudden it was a bit flat, wasn't it? And we were like, what the hell's going on? It didn't sound as promising at that point, did it?
No, that going back to what I was saying before, if there's so much debt, we can't pay off debt with debt unless there's some long-term strategy of there's more money coming in at a later point, because all you're doing, I think reorganizing the debt into one party makes things easier. But does that really say that you're going to be? Are you waiting then for the stadium to slowly but surely gain in value, and there's enough events? Maybe you guys get some T Swift concerts going on, and in the summer, and you start being able to pay off that debt, and then all of a sudden you're in a situation where you can start trying to put Everton up the league. and maybe but you're waiting for a few years of the club is going to marginally get better and better financially because you've just moved away from Goodison. Is that enough to really say we're moving the needle in the right direction? Or if you're worried about mediocrity and not wanting to watch Everton be Dyche level, you get results, but it's uninteresting. I think you're a decade away if Downing and Bell came in because of that equity. You need straight up cash, but 400 mil isn't going to do it either.
Yeah. Do you think they could have been the right buyers, but the wrong time then? This current in 2024, they're not quite right, but in 2004 or 2014, they would have been absolutely perfect.
Could well be. I think what you would say is maybe in 3 years they'd be perfect because then you have the stadium already up and going, and maybe that.
Stop pinging me, please.
So if everything is paid up, if all you're doing now is making, well, not money hand over fist, but Everton are making a profit again just by moving out of Goodison, all of that loan money can be paid off, and it's not just okay, I'm paying the minimum and just having this giant like sack of expectations following you financially, and you can't break free and actually make progress. So maybe, but I don't think right now we're in that spot. And if you said 2014, you go, okay, great. They couldn't afford a stadium. We'd be in Goodison indefinitely. So
yeah, actually, I stand corrected. So the reality is Downing and Bell were borrowing the money to pay for the club from MS Dell Group. It wasn't Michael Dell himself involved personally. It would have been some sort of financing loan from his investment company. And yes, their heart would have been in the right place. They do possess a wealth of business knowledge and acumen. And I guess it would be quite nice to see them involved maybe in the chairmanship or on the board or with a minority stake in the club, but or without a minority stake. But really, hi, Kevin. It's clearly not right to be borrowing to buy us. The fact that the Friedkin group can buy us without borrowing is a real positive, isn't it, Chris? And we have to trust them. And ultimately, it doesn't matter now how much, you could buy Everton, Chris. It wouldn't matter how much money you've got. It's about how you put the right people running the club, CEO, academy, scouting network, and all the right people in the right places to be able to get the club functioning, profitable, commercially savvy, commercially astute, and doing all the right things on and off the pitch. It doesn't matter how much money you've got because you can't go, and I've said this a few times, you can't go, I'm going to buy £100 million player, I'm going to sign him, I'm going to sign him, and I'm going to sign him. The club's got to become profitable. And so the business acumen is really important. Not borrowing more debt and making it even harder with these interest payments and stuff is positive. Just a final note then, do you think Mashiri is picking the best man there based on what you've read, or do you think it's just about what's best for Farhad?
I need to read up more to tell you what's truly best. I think
we don't have a fucking clue, lads. We got no fucking idea.
But the problem is there's like 7 different people. You read, ACAP's over here, 777's over here, MSP
John
showing
Texter.
up from time to time. There's Texter, there's the Dell Group, and now Mr. Roma owner himself. And you go, okay, how much as football pundits or whatever we want to call ourselves here, we have to like bring out legal textbooks, just to figure out financially how we want to do it. What we're saying though is right, Ryan. Whoever comes in, we need to trust, and at least this guy owns a club in Roma, so understands a business model that he could bring into Everton and maybe reshape it up. Maybe you have to keep the manager and a couple talent directors, but they could restructure the gizzards of the Everton Football Club in Roma's image straight away. Because so maybe that's a little bit better than someone brand new going, I like soccer over in America or whatever, and I'm going to just throw money at this person I think knows what he's doing. Where if it's Roma, they have contacts already. They have an infrastructure.
And Roma are a massive club, as I said, massive history. Carlo Ancelotti. They won the Europa Conference League. I think was it last season or the season before?
So that was when Jose Mourinho was there and they wiped out Leicester in the final, I think. That was 2 years ago, maybe?
Yeah, they were the first winners, 21-22. They haven't won a lot since then. To be honest with you, they haven't won. Last time they won the league was 2016-17. Last time they won the Coppa Italia was 7-8. They are kind of the 6th, 7th
Yep.
placed
Well, they should be
clubs in and around there.
we should be the Everton of Italy.
Yeah, they have, and they are. You could argue they are. I think, Chris, this is going to be a developing story. We'll get more as we know, in terms of the new owner, and we'll come back to that again once we're more what's the word?
We're more informed and we hear a progress update on, is it a rumor that it happens in the next day? Because this time it's real.
This time it's real.
Trust us. This time will be different.
I'd like to thank you all for watching. I'd like to thank my special friend Chris for jumping on. The second half of the show, I can see his beautiful face in a lot more clearer detail without the
yeah.
And I just want to thank you all. I want to say thank you. Make sure you like and subscribe. I'm off to Staffordshire now. I've got an hour and a half drive, so I will have to love and leave you. But I'm sure there's going to be some wonderful content from Chris surrounding the Euros. And finally, I want to pay tribute to Kevin Campbell. Make sure you like and subscribe. Chris, any final comments?
No, I think that's going to be it for now. Hopefully my laptop doesn't lag as bad this weekend. I would like to do some watch-alongs, maybe Spain-Croatia today, as well as England tomorrow. So if you're in town or available over the weekend, keep an eye out for content going that way. But as we said, rest in peace to Mr. Campbell, and wish the best for his family. It's I'm sure a really tough time and a shock. Charismatic family character like that, it's going to be hard for that family, and support where you can, fellow Blues.
Make sure you like and subscribe. And as I say, Chris will be back with some content, and we'll be reporting, as we have done, on all the current affairs going on with Everton over the summer.
Yeah.
Thank you.